And even though you are, and you have, well, not, and this, you can even talk about sin in that way. People think, well, that's something that's given to you from the Bible. And it's just like, no, man, there's just like, we have a structure in civilization about how we're supposed to live. Mm-hmm. And that's derived from many different places. And there's, you can go to a lot of different civilizations, and some of them have actions in their civilizations that other ones would consider a sin, right?
Yeah.
But I think, for the most part, we're all living along the same lines. And it's just like, if you go outside of those lines, coming back from that is not as simple as saying, oh, I'm just going to go to church and be a part of that.
Yeah,
like you'd actually need to do it, Yeah. And that's where people have gotten off the lines, I think. And even the people who are critical of religion have gotten off the line, off track too, because we're all looking at the Bible as it's just like, this is actual factual information that happened.
Yeah. Or
we're looking at it and saying, well, this is people lying to us about what actually happened. Mm-hmm. And it's not. It's like, the Bible is 100% a collection of metaphors.
Mm-hmm. And it's a collection of ancient stories.
Well, exactly.
Like, they just disappear into history.
Well, the technology of storytelling was so that we would be able to pass on information to people in the future.
And hopefully they could
things that we learn.
Stumble less through life. Mm-hmm. If you properly... It's like the right balance of honoring the tradition so that you don't run into the same holes they ran into.
Right.
Marxism. And, but then also being the living spirit that breathes life into the old structure.
Right.
Through you being alive now.
Yeah.
And otherwise... Because the structure can't impose too much on your free will. It needs to be like a chess game is perfect because it seems like there's just enough rules.
Yeah.
So like within the rules of chess, you can't break them in order to win. Mm-hmm. But within the rules, you can have a near infinite amount of games of chess.
Yeah.
And life is probably like that too. Well, it's like chess might be like a microcosm of like, I don't know, a battle of something or something. Mm-hmm. So. There's rules we have to follow. There are rules, which is what's wrong with the whole moral relativism argument. The fact that there is actually rules that we have to adhere to, or else this whole thing doesn't work.
Right.
However, there can't be those can't be so black and white and enforced to a tyrannical level, because then you kill the individual spirit.
Yeah.
And the culture dies that way too.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And so.
Because if it's not a sum of those parts.
Yeah,
right? Yeah.
And it doesn't provide a platform, because the culture is supposed to provide a platform so that the individuals within it can, like, one of the lines I heard Peterson say so well was, you have to go on the assumption that there's a hole in the world that's your shape. Mm-hmm. And if you, honor yourself enough to follow your passionate pursuits in life, which this culture allows you to do, even though your kin or the people around you or the town you grew up in might not be so supportive of you being a fucking musician or whatever it might be. Mm-hmm. You still have to honor that, because it's A, going to haunt you your whole life if you don't, and B, you're not going to be as good at anything else if you don't.
Well, see, Peterson said the thing that's resonated most with me, and he just kind of said it, like, it wasn't even a thing he says all the time. He just kind of just said it and just went on. Yeah. It's like there's no difference between responsibility and opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's like, that has, honestly, that when regards to like me trying to build this brewery thing and just realizing just who I am and my shortcomings and stuff like that, that has, like, that pops in my head so much when it comes down to it. When I'm looking at something that needs to be done or something that I can do. And looking at it, like, grudgingly sometimes. But now I look at it and I'm just like, this is not something I have to do. This responsibility that I have as a person, this is an opportunity for me to do something. And I can't have one doesn't exist without the other one, right?
Yeah.
And
those causal relationships between quote unquote abstract concepts are so interesting too. Discovering.
Yeah, exactly. And it was just like, okay, so here's why I thought about that. So if you are in a small town and you happen to have a different perspective, it could feel like quite the burden or responsibility to vocalize that perspective, right? But it's the opportunity, not only for yourself though. When a small populace of people produces a person who has a new perspective, that is that small populace of, that small group of people, that is their opportunity. Mm-hmm. If you take the responsibility.
Yeah.
Right? You know what I mean?
That's
so it's
right.
like,
that's right.
And I felt that weight when Oceanic kind of broke up. Mm-hmm. I just had all these emotions that or thoughts that I never thought I was going to have, where it was like I felt like I let my town down. And I never felt like that before. Like I never really even considered that. I kind of felt like I was like, fucking Port Saunders doesn't give a fuck about me, whatever the fuck. I'm just going to go on, and Cornerbrook doesn't care about me, and fucking Halifax doesn't care about us, or whatever, like that kind of mentality. And then, once I realized that I had this, like, beautiful thing that I was doing, and, like, it had some significance and importance, and it was really special, and it was like a different look on something that was going on. And, and it's not that I let anybody down at all, but I had those feelings of, like, I took that opportunity of being a different person from a small town and actually ran with it. And so for me to, like, drop it now, and because I'm not, but for me to drop it right now in my life would be me turning my back on the fact that that small town of Port Saunders emerged a person who at first was at odds with it completely, but then took that and realized that that was that culture putting out something new. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And it's probably done it a bunch of times, right? And it has, because I've talked to people like, I just can't believe they're from, and it's not the shit on anybody there at all. It's just like, I'm just like, you have a perspective that I didn't realize anybody there had, and I'm just like, how many people are there like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's cool. And so yeah, man, like I think that's just what I'm doing right now. It's like I feel like I have that responsibility as being that person in our culture.
Man, that's awesome. I think that's why, like, the image of I was gonna use a biblical reference, but I'll use the Lion King instead. Mm-hmm. That scene in the beginning where Rafiki basically, like, for all intents and purposes, baptizes the Simba or whatever, and puts that orange mark on his head or whatever it is.
Yeah. And
then holds him to the whole kingdom. Mm-hmm. It's like that new child, the new son, the new life form is everyone hopes that the new baby is gonna be the savior. Yeah. That's kind of like the symbolism at play when everyone, anytime any person has a baby, it's like, I'm not important anymore. It's all about this thing. Yeah. Maybe this thing will be able to do something. Yeah. Because it's new and its virtue is also its downfall. That all it is sheer possibility at this point.
Yeah, exactly.
And so as you age, you become more and more. It happened and less possibility, or more heading down this track instead of all of them all at once, which is necessary. But then you also need to maintain that the fact that because if you let yourself die to, dogma and tradition too much, then you stop actually being that living conscious thing that's actively discerning from one thing or the other in the present moment now. Yeah. Instead of like acting instead of being a mouthpiece for an ideology or something like that. Right,
yeah, exactly. So that's a hard line to walk.
It's a hard line to walk, because you gotta act like everyone else is acting to a degree. Mm-hmm. Then you also have to maintain a certain amount of that, the thing that we love kids so much for. The thing that my kittens, they make me laugh every time because they just do things I don't expect them to do.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, they're just figuring life out as they go.
Yeah.
They're at that age. But yeah, man. I think what you said really rings true.
Yeah.
For me, at least.
And I mean, it's like something I don't take lightly because, like, I realized that I emerged in a place that had a dying industry. You know what I mean? And
fisheries?
I would not be, if I were to have been born where I was born and it had the same industry it had 20 years before that, I would have been born into a place of crazy prosperity.
Yeah.
But I would have been born and I would have had children that I would have been handing down, like, ultimate.
They got fucking dying fire too.
Yeah, exactly, right? So, I mean, that's basically, I mean, I was very lucky to have, like, parents that were willing to move and happened to be in, like, the more so, like, service industry of it all, right? Not right out on the front lines of working in the fishing industry, right? But, you know, so in one sense, I was very lucky to be, like, a very, like, culturally critical person. But that definitely only happened because I was born in a place that had its industry wiped out of them, and there was a certain amount of criticism going on there anyway.
Yeah, you're
and
right.
I picked up on that, right? Other than that, I'd probably be on a fucking fishing boat right now.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know...
Tradition is a fucking... It's got some momentum behind it, man. Like, you can get swept right up. Not that that's a bad thing either. But... No, so it's, yeah, it's been crazy. I think this might be a cool place to start wrapping things up, but one thing I kind of wanted to do, and I think I half meant to do it at the beginning, but we just got rolling, so it was cool, but there's this passage, actually, in Jordan Peterson's new book, 12 Rules for Life.
Yeah.
I'm on my second read-through of it.
Yeah. I've been meaning to pick it up, and Mike was talking about getting it.
It's fucking well worth your time.
I've got, like, 5 books upstairs. I'm like, I've started, and it's...
Oh, yeah, you're on that one.
Oh, fuck. It's, 3 of them are brewing literature.
Oh, yeah.
And as much as I love brewing, it's just there's only so much of that I can...
Yeah. Sometimes it's you can, shit like that can be dry.
Oh, yeah. I'm actually, like, I'm gonna take a month off from everything and just read those books, but that's one of them.
Yeah, so. I need to stop buying books.
Yeah.
I got so many that I just haven't even... Anyways, the next book I'm reading is, Thus Spake Zarathustra by Nietzsche.
Yeah.
I'm stoked to read that. But...
Sweet. Well, when you're done that, I definitely want to talk to you again.
Fuck yeah.
Not until then.
Anton just finished reading it too, so maybe
did
he should come over and we'll all talk about Nietzsche or something.
Yeah. Cool.
Anyway, so this is part of his chapter 10, which is chapter 9 rather.
Yeah.
Which is be precise with your speech.
Mm-hmm.
And it is all about... He talks about different forms of conversation.
Yeah.
And there's definitely lots of places I highlighted that are cool. But there's this one little subsection called Conversation on the Way, and this is kind of what I... full credit to Jordan Peterson on this, but his words are perfect. I think this is going to be like the credo for the podcast kind of thing.
Right on, yeah.
But basically it's...
Awesome. I like this already.
Cool.
Yeah.
So this is what I hope the podcasts always are in some short form. The final type of conversation, akin to listening, is a form of mutual exploration. It requires true reciprocity on the part of those listening and speaking. It allows all participants to express and organize their thoughts. A conversation of mutual exploration has a topic, generally complex, of genuine interest to the participants. Everyone participating is trying to solve a problem instead of insisting on the a priori validity of their own positions. All are acting on the premise that they have something to learn. This kind of conversation constitutes active philosophy, the highest form of thought, and the best preparation for proper living. The people involved in such a conversation must be discussing ideas they genuinely use to construct their perceptions and guide their actions and words. They must be existentially involved in their philosophy. That is, they must be living it, not merely believing or understanding it. They also must be inverted, at least temporarily. They also must have inverted, at least temporarily, the typical human preference for